Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sabrina. I'm very excited to have you here. The lighting is very weird. It is like a really gloomy, rainy day, and I didn't want to film in front of my bookcases because my ring light has been being super weird lately. So sorry about that. Also, if you hear my heater running, sorry for that as well. I'm going to be doing my recent reads. I did a recent poll on my channel where I asked if you guys would rather like to see recent reads or monthly wrap-ups, and a majority of the votes were for recent reads. So I'm going to do my recent reads. So these are going to be my reads from the beginning of October to about mid-November, or sorry, the beginning of October. These are going to be my reads from the beginning of October to mid-October. I've read quite a bit of books. I didn't realize that I've read so many. A couple were rereads, but a lot of them were new reads. I have a couple graphic novels, and I've just apparently been reading a lot. So these are in no way, shape, or order, just kind of the order I picked them up off my bookshelves, and I put them in the pile. So the first book I read this month was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I actually have a reading vlog coming out for this in November. I am reading the series for the first time, and everybody's like, ooh, things start to happen in this book. But I also heard this was where Harry Potter starts to take more of a young adult turn versus a middle grade. I still put it as a middle grade in my reading tracking, so I just still consider this a middle grade. But in this book, if you don't know, Harry Potter actually is in the Triwizarding Tournament, and it's just, for me, this book was pretty uneventful. But at the same time, there were like major themes that were important. Like the Triwizarding Cup was obviously very important, but there were several chapters between each tournament that were kind of uneventful for me. But I did enjoy it. I don't sponsor J.K. Rowling because she's kind of a terrible person. But that being said, I did get these at a thrift store, so go me. I really did enjoy it. I think it was great. I really liked seeing Harry's development as a character. I really liked being introduced to all the new characters, which was super fun. And yeah, I just really enjoy it. I think I rated it a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. My actual rating was a 5 out of 5 as well, so I really did enjoy this. It was definitely a lot of fun. And the next book I read was These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This book is about this elemental witch, so she has like powers over the 4 elements, and she has to gang up with her ex-girlfriend to kind of make sure this blood witch isn't going to ruin their coven. It was good. I'm not mad that I read it, but it definitely could have been better. I feel like they focused a lot on the romance part, and I was really hoping they'd focus more on the witchy part, but maybe that's just me. I like to complain sometimes. But overall, I think it was great. It was nice. I really liked the story. I'm not mad that I read it. I rated it a 3 out of 5 on Goodreads just because it wasn't my forte. I don't really normally read books like this, but I wasn't mad about it. So the next book I read this month was Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. So the Rainbow Rowell is also very problematic. So apparently this was the recent reads of problematic authors. This book is about 2 characters. It is their final year working at the pumpkin patch before they go to college, and I really enjoyed this. It was a very cute story about these 2 kids who are just trying to make this their last best day ever. It was definitely a lot of fun. They have a lot of like fall treats they eat, which is super cute. Like there was one called a pumpkin bomb that was like a pumpkin pie slice with ice cream and dipped in chocolate, and it literally sounded just so good. I definitely would have ate it in my life. But I rated this book a 5 out of 5. I thought it was super cute. I loved the graphics, and I just really liked the story. I definitely think this is going to be something that I save and read every year around this time because it was just super cute. I enjoyed it a lot. The next book I read this month was Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, this is a problematic book, right? I have a reading vlog coming out for this as well. We all know what Twilight is about. It's about Bella Swan. She moves to Forks, Washington, and meets up with Colin, who is a vampire. So I reread this just for the fun of it, just to see if it's as problematic as everybody says it is, and if I liked it as much as I loved it in middle school when I read it for the first time. Both of those are, well, one of them is true, one of them is not true, so yeah. I rated this a 3 out of 5 just because it definitely wasn't what I wanted it to. It definitely wasn't what I wanted it to be, and it definitely isn't what I expected it to be. I wanted it to be as good as it was when I first read it, and it wasn't, and that was so disappointing for me. I was super sad, but I mean, I'm not too mad about it because I guess I expected it to be problematic and not fun, but Twilight's always been one of those things that's like very, what's the word, nostalgic for me. Like, it was one of my first fandoms. It was one of the biggest books I ever read as a middle schooler, so definitely has some nostalgia there, but it didn't get a very high rating from me this time. The next book I read this month was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. So this book is a graphic novel. It follows 4 different horror stories, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was a lot of fun. Definitely graphic novels. I've really been enjoying them lately. I'm not big on manga, so if you have any manga recommendations, let me know because I never know where to start. But this was very, very, very scary. I'm not totally big on horror stories. Like, I can do thriller horror, like, if that makes sense. Like Riley Sager, who I guess technically is just thriller, but his are kind of scary too. Like, I can do that stuff, but this just was creepy at times. It was very weird at times as well. But you know what? I guess I expected it. But overall, I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the stories, really enjoyed the illustrations that were super creepy. I rated it a 5 out of 5. My actual rating was a 4.5 because it was a little too weird for my taste, but I did really enjoy it. The next book I have read is The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. So this book is about 3 friends, well, friends, uncle, same difference, who decide to make a ghost club. So the uncle takes them to all these different places and telling them all these different ghost stories. And in the end, we kind of find out what is going on with their uncle and why he knows all these ghost stories. And it is a coming of age. It is such a good story. I would highly recommend it. It was very good. I ended up rating it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, just because the writing style was a little hard to read and I expected it to be more dialogue, but there was a lot of like inner monologue versus dialogue. So other than that, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of lessons learned, that's for sure. But I really enjoyed it, and I definitely will be recommending this to a couple of my friends, and I definitely will be rereading it too because I just really liked it. And there's just a random penguin on the sidewalk there in the corner, which is just great. The next book I read was The Space Between Worlds by Micah Johnson. This book is a sci-fi thriller. It is about a girl who is a traverser, so she is able to hop between parallel universes, and she can only go to places where her doppelganger on that world has died. I had to figure out how to phrase that in my brain. And she ends up landing on a planet where her doppelganger actually faked her death, so she almost dies landing on that planet, and she's kind of going out of her way to try to help the people on that planet because they're not living good lives. But I really enjoyed this. I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi, so for me, it was kind of hard to follow, kind of hard to read, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting, a very interesting concept that I don't really see that often in books, but you know what, I'm not mad that I read it. I rated it a 4 out of 5. Like I said, sci-fi normally isn't my genre, but I wasn't mad that I read it. I thought it was a good story. So the rest of these books are books I've read on ebook, so I don't have the actual copies of them, so I'm going to be reading you them off of my Goodreads list, and I will put an image of the book somewhere on the screen for you to see it. So the first one I read was The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine N. Aron. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a nonfiction reader, I'm a nonfiction skimmer. So that being said, this book is a nonfiction about like, if you're very sensitive, like here are the reasons why and how do you know you're sensitive and stuff like that. And I know I'm really sensitive to not only the people around me, but like I'm really sensitive to my own emotions and stuff like that. So it was an interesting read. I found it very boring at times. She repeated herself a lot, so I feel like that was really annoying because I don't like when authors continuously repeat themselves, especially when it's a nonfiction. It messes me up. Can't do it. Don't like it. I ended up randomly rating it a 2 out of 5. Like I said, I'm not big on nonfiction, but I thought this would have been interesting, but she just kept repeating herself and then kept coming on the same topic all the way throughout the book, and I was like, let's just get a groove on. The next book I read was The Brothers Grimm, The Illuminated Fairy Tales by Amazon. So these are just the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. You guys have heard of them, Hansel and Gretel, Cinderella, the traditional stories. So these are a little bit more graphic than traditional fairy tales, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great fall read. So a really cool thing about the Illuminated Fairy Tales, which you'll see in my reading vlog that goes up in a couple weeks, that the pages and stuff move, and they have animations, which is really, really cool. It's a very interactive story. I really enjoyed it because I've never actually read the Grimm's fairy tales, and I learned about them in my children's literature course, but I never really read them myself, so it was a good read. I really enjoyed them. I rated it a 5 out of 5. I really, really like the illustrations, the animations, the stories. It's definitely just one of those classics that you just have to read once in your life. Next book I read is Hush Little Baby by Suzanne Redford. So this book follows a mother who is in an abusive relationship, and she decides to pack up and leave her husband and take her 2 kids with her. So we are just following this story of her leaving the abuse and what comes after. So I thought this was really interesting because I don't see very many stories of moms leaving abuse and like what comes afterwards. I feel like that's a kind of subject we tend not to touch upon. It's just like the book Room, if you guys have ever read it, about the girl who was kidnapped and then trapped for 5 years, I believe, and she gives birth to a baby and she decides to make the escape plan. So it's kind of like that book, and I really like those genres because it's not something we see very often, but it is a great story and I really enjoyed it. So that is going to be all for the recent reads. I will do another one of these videos in a couple weeks to tell you what I've been reading. This one has been kind of long just because this is kind of a monthly wrap up, but not really because we're doing it a week and a half early, but it's fine. As usual, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a super big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below. Tell me if you've read any of these books or if any of these books sound good. And make sure you give this video a super big thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to my channel. I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and I really hope you guys tune in to watch those with me. I premiere them normally, so it's definitely a lot of fun when I can chat with you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!